This week's Torah portion, Shalach Lecha, gets our biblical ancestors one step closer to the Promised Land. At God's command, Moses, still hopeful he'll be leading the Israelite people into the land, sends one man from each of the 12 tribes to scout the land. Vaishlach otam Moshe lator et eretz benegev vayomer Elohim alu ze benegev va'alitem et ha'ar. When Moses sent them to scout the land of Canaan, he said to them, "Go up there to the Negev and on into the hill country, and see what kind of country it is. Are the people who dwell in it strong or weak, few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the fruit of the land." Now it happened to be the season of the first ripe grapes. They reached the Wadi Eshkol, and there they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes. It had been borne on a carrying frame by two of them, and some pomegranates and figs. At the end of 40 days, they returned from scouting the land. They went straight to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran, and they made the report to them and to the whole community as they showed them the fruit of the land. This is what they told them: "We came to the land you sent us to. It does indeed flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruits. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the Anakites there. Amalekites dwell in the Negev region." And after enough of this report, Caleb hushed the people before Moses and said, Let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack that people, for they are stronger than us." Thus they spread amongst the Israelites about the land they had scouted, saying, "The country that we traversed and scouted is one that consumes those who dwell in it. All the people that we saw in it are men of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The Anakites are part of the Nephilim, and we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them." The Promised Land has always been tied to the spiritual aspirations of the Jewish people and those non-Jews who chose to cast their lot with the Israelites. Alu et hanegev, going up to the Negev. It's the same Hebrew word as aliyah, becoming a citizen of Israel. The journey, the going up, is meant to elevate the soul as well as the body. Those that have been to Ben Gurion Airport remember the architecture of the airport that reinforces this biblical image. Once you arrive and clear customs, the path you take physically takes you up, 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 until you retrieve your luggage. There is always something transformative and elevating about entering the land of Israel, baggage and all. 10 out of 12 of the tribal leaders, as we heard, brought back fearful reports, and Caleb, one of the two remaining tribal leaders with Joshua, quietly silences the Israelites, discouraging their discouraging points, saying to them, "We will indeed go up and inherit it, the land." As much as the promised land is to provide physical sustenance and security for the Jewish people and all who choose to dwell equally side by side their Jewish brothers and sisters, the rabbis also look for metaphors in the land. In responding to, "The land you sent us to scout is one that consumes its inhabitants." The Baal Shem Tov commented that the Israelites lost perspective of living a spiritually elevated life as they allowed themselves to be consumed by earthly pleasures. That's what it means that the land will consume its inhabitants. Caleb's counter to his brethren is to rise above the earthly, the material, to live lives in service to God through kindness to one another, caring for the most vulnerable, and ensuring that this land will indeed flow with milk and honey from generation to generation. Only if we turn our hearts to heaven can we too ascend and come close to God. That is what Caleb means when he says, "We will indeed go up and inherit." Each person has their own gifts, their own distinct Torah to lift up. Each person in each generation is responsible for adding to the inheritance of the land by our deeds which connect us to the divine and elevate our spirits. That, Rabbi Arthur Green reminds us, is available and accessible to all human beings, not just Jews. Each of our life journeys is to identify our unique gifts and let them flow into the world. There is no space between being of service and connecting to God. God resides in love. And the rabbis linger a bit longer on this verse. The country that we traversed and scouted is one that consumes those who dwell in it. All the people we saw in it are men of great size, and we looked like grasshoppers to them. Jewish tradition is wise in understanding human nature. We are, each of us, so often our worst enemies. There is a kinship between Torah and meditation practice. As a relative newcomer to meditation, the most profound benefit for me is being non-judgmental and kind to myself. It's not always easy. In the course of meditation, there can be loving feelings that come up and feelings of anger and jealousy and inadequacy. Instead of letting them seize us or drag us down, We are invited simply to let them go and return to our breath, not to dwell on them. Judaism considers all our feelings as nothing less than Torah. We're invited to rise each of them up as words of Torah. If our thoughts of love come to us, lift them up and then let them go. If thoughts of anger and fear come upon us, raise them up as well and let them go. Don't let any of it paralyze you. It would be really foolish, the rabbis reinforce, to dwell on it, to let it consume us. It would be, as the rabbis imagine, like a man who travels to a city to do some business. Instead of engaging in business, he just sits there, having left his family behind. Can you imagine any greater folly? In the same way, God sends us a certain thought in order that we can raise it up. It would be really foolish to just dwell there. Let go and allow God to hold a piece of your thought. Not doing so to allow the land to consume you. Don't just dwell in it forever. This, I think, is a priceless interpretation of the story of the spies getting their first glimpse of the promised land. Yes, categorically, we need the strength to secure the land from our external enemies. And no less important, we need the strength to battle our own demons, those things that hold us back either in self-aggrandizement or self-effacement. Neither can serve us well. How easy it is, like the 10 spies, to become intimidated, to look like grasshoppers to ourselves. Even worse, as Rabbi Green sums up, to just forget what we were sent here to do in the first place. So let this Shabbat be a time of reflection, a time perhaps of clarity, to articulate what we were sent here to do. And then let's do it. Shabbat Shalom.